All right, and welcome to the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast, episode 115. And yeah, I forgot the music again. I just said that. I literally just said that, and then so I have ADHD.
I won't forget the music. What did
I
I
got
forget?
distracted by my own notes. That's great. Oh man! All right, trying this again. Welcome to episode 115 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, who can't remember Jack, Jeremy. Joining me in this weird state of mind, Rachel.
You know, there's a thing for that. It's called editing it in post. So
I'm gonna let it ride. Steven.
We give you twice the intros.
And
two
Chris.
for one special.
Right. And Chris.
Soon this will be a feature.
Yeah, if I can remember how to do it. Oh man, I wish it would I could set it to just play immediately and then I could start talking, but it's the fact that I have to remember to click.
Maybe not with this particular program. Maybe
Good.
maybe there's another program out there.
Zencaster, get your shit together. Come on, man. We're forgetful. Help us out.
Listen, Zencaster. He doesn't mean to be mean. It's just a polite suggestion.
I'm being mean. If I can find another way for us to record, I will drop them for the simple fact I found other ways to edit the show. So they're on thin ice. I pay a lot of money
You
for
hear
this.
that, buddy? You're on thin ice.
That's my warning to them. I'm sure they'll get. It's actually not a bad program, but there could be some benefits.
This video is now going to be 1 minute and 47 seconds long.
They just shut us down from here.
We're over time then.
Back to Discord, everyone. Oh, man. So let's just go ahead and jump into what we've been up to, because this has been a fun week for everybody. And I'm actually going to start it off because I've got some good and some very bad, annoying stuff to talk about. First off is probably one of the funniest times I've had in a while. And Steven was joined in with this. We were playing Goat Simulator 3 online. And I will say right now, Steven, I apologize for the ballerina tornado. Yes, I made a tornado.
I was trying to. I had to collect 40 boxes and put them in a garage, and suddenly 3 ballerinas, a category 4, just went through and pulled all the boxes out of the garage.
Yeah, and they kept going over and over again, and it was.
Have you ever had a quest that says collect so many of 40, go down in number instead of up? It went down because he pulled all the boxes away.
But yeah, the tornado went by and just pulled all the boxes out of the garage, and I'm like, I am so sorry. And it kept going. It wasn't like a once it passed. They kept repeating. Like, what did we have to do to stop them? Like, did we have to hit them or something?
No, they were still there when you left.
Oh,
they're
that's
just
right.
going around the whole world. I don't know if they'll still be there when we get back.
Something glitched, and I managed to finish that mission at least, so we got the boxes in. But just that game is phenomenal, and I've already had multiple people ask me, so I've never heard of that one. When was Goat Simulator 2? And I'm like, that's part of the joke. They never made one.
The joke.
Yeah, they went from 1 to 3 immediately, and people just kept asking for 2. But if you get a chance to play it, it is stupid. It's supposed to be, but it is so funny. So yeah. Beyond that, I have finally finished Super Mario RPG. Yay! I can use my Switch for other things. I absolutely loved it. The remake is good. I played pretty much 100% of it portably, of all things. I only put it on the TV one time just to look and see what it was, and then I had to go off and do something. So I didn't even get a chance to play it. I'm going to go back later and mess with the after game stuff. Maybe. But I will say that if this was someone's first Mario game and they played no other ones, they would think Nintendo had no idea how to make a platformer, because it is so bad anytime you have to do precision jumps. And they had entire sections where it's like, yeah, here's this complicated jumps. Go ahead and do it. I'm like, Nintendo and Square, get your shit together. No, this is not right. Like, yes, I remember the Super Nintendo one was rough, but you could have fixed it. Like, give me a shadow below me so I can at least judge where I'm going, maybe. But the fact that they do give you a shadow for one part where you're climbing up vines, but when you get to the vine to do the jump, which took me half an hour, by the way, because they're not all the same, but they look like they're level. The shadow they have at the bottom goes away when you go up, so you can't really judge what you're doing. Good game though, otherwise. So, next up was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which has released for the Switch, as well as Xbox and PlayStation. And I bought it for Switch. And this is like, if it continues as it is, could be a contender for a game of the year for me. Like, I know we're in January, but holy crap, this is fantastic. One of the interesting things they did, they designed and built the game for the Switch and then took that and ported it to PlayStation 5, to Series XS, PC, and all that stuff. So it runs great on the Switch. It looks like it should. Everything runs how it should. It's pretty smooth, very little slowdown or anything. But I was late finishing the notes because I've been playing this all day today. I've only had it since Thursday, and I've put hours upon hours into this thing already. Like, I just sit there and play it for as long as I can. Hell, while we were setting up the show, I was sitting here playing it on my Switch. Go ahead, Steven.
Did you find the text-to-speech bird?
No, I don't even know what that one's about yet.
So
far, all the voices I've found have been great.
Yeah, one of the checkpoints, there's a bird, and when it talks, it's like a computerized female voice, and it's text. It's the only text-to-speech that they forgot to switch out.
Huh. I know some of the trees you find, which are basically like save points and refill stations.
Yeah.
Some of them have creatures living in them. Maybe I just didn't even catch that it was just talking weird. I'll have to go back and see, because
did you see what I meant though by that new feature that is probably the greatest innovation for Metroidvania ever?
Oh, where you can go to the map and actually leave an image. I have used that so much.
Mark it. It makes a picture saying, "I got to remember to go through that wall." I was just like, "Where have you been?"
And you can find, it's not really a spoiler, but you can find more ability to do more of those as you go. And I'm like, I'm so happy to have more of those now, because I have used them and then cleared them out as I finish things.
I was like, that's an awesome idea.
I will say the map is huge. Go ahead, Chris.
A nice thing about that game, too, it's made by the same developers who made Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins. That's why it's so smooth.
Oh, the art, yeah, the artwork, the art style, the voice acting, other than the one voice apparently, every bit of it's top notch. I could tell somebody, hey, Nintendo made this for the Switch, and they'd probably believe me. It's that good. Which is disappointing in the fact of Ubisoft saying stuff later that we'll talk about. But for the actual artists and creators, this is Ubisoft firing on all cylinders, how they used to be all the time. And I'm glad to at least see this back, and I hope maybe this part of it can continue on more. The last thing I'm going to do, I was going to talk about, like, I finished Reacher Season 2. It was good. It wasn't as good as the first season, but I did enjoy it. Hopefully they'll make another. But my last little bit is I wanted to have a bit of a rant on collectors, or air quote collectors, who rant about that. So I got these little bastards. These are some of the blind box Ghostbusters. I managed to get 3 Stay Puffs. Took me a while to find these. They were the only 3 boxes I have been able to find in our region, because I think they're only at Target. But the first time I found out about them, I ran into a guy who was in a Ghostbusters sweatshirt and talking about it, and he called himself a huge fan and a collector, who then openly admitted he's been going online to Target, buying out the entire stock, going to every store, grabbing every one he can find, even scanning it in the store, so that he can have them and he can resell them. Dude, collector. Fuck off. Like, that is not collecting. That is just pure asinine. Like, you are not helping anybody. We have rules that we go by, Brent and I, and I've talked to Steven about this before, mentioned some of you guys. If you find one, great. If you find more than one, leave one for other people. You don't need all of them. I get it if you want a box and an unboxed. Some people are like that. Sometimes you pick up more than one for a friend. But you don't need to grab every single one, especially for little things like this. It's like an $8 figure that's a blind box. Kids are going to be interested in it. Like, you're killing pretty much any opportunity for anyone else to enjoy this. And you're not a collector. You're just a leech on the fandom of everybody else. So if that guy ever happens to watch this show, fuck you.
Screw you, buddy.
Yeah, just
Mhm.
no. Yeah, maybe I'll see him at the launch of Ghostbusters, and I'll be just like, no, it's just not good. So okay, move on to happier stuff. Steven, what have you been up to?
And this is sure to make some people mad. I finally beat Yakuza 4,
Nice.
and the best way of doing that was whenever a side quest came up, I ignored it. Which some people online would say you're missing out on lore. And to them I say, hey, I beat Yakuza 0 and its trophies 100%. And nobody from that
Jesus.
has come back lore. So no thank you. I have started 5, so if I include 5, I have 8 more of these games to play to be caught up. Okay? This is like,
That's
this
an
is like
endeavor.
saying I'm starting to watch Doctor Who. Christopher Eccleston's great. You're so behind. So
That's where I
Mhm.
started.
I'm
This is
starting
weird.
Yakuza 5 now. I'm loving it. It's just yeah, it's a trek, but it's always good to finally put one behind you, and then for them to be like, "Oh, we see you played this one. We'll give you a reward." I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
Nice.
And it's usually like a can of soda. I'm like, "Thanks." Yes, I did play some Goat Simulator with Jeremy. My bad about the nuke, because after you left,
Uh-huh.
there was this tower with a big red button, and I hit it, and a nuke hit a part of the town. I don't know if the nuke will still be there, but it exploded and then it gave me a Fallout suit for my goat.
Oh.
And I was like,
I
"Oh crap!" I was like, "I hope I can get that for Jeremy."
Oops.
So we need to play this
Oops.
tonight after the show. Then is what you're saying.
So I was like, "Oh, he's gonna see my goat with it on." I quickly switched it out because I don't want him to be like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm like, that crater over there."
Yeah, some of the suits in that game are just stupid funny.
Chef's kiss. I've also been watching Awesome Games Done Quick all week long, catching all the ones, usually the videos on demand on
Mhm.
YouTube. I posted some of the good ones to the Discord, like
Mm-hmm.
Monkey Island 2 beat in 29 minutes, Starfield beaten in 49 minutes.
Yeah, that one I've got to see. I need to go back and watch those.
I got to see Super Mario 64 beaten with a drum set, so that was awesome. I got to see Gyromite played with a dog, a Shiba
That
Inu.
was great. I did hear about that. I was
Actually,
like,
someone
that's-
at work was talking about the game being beaten with a drum set, so that's kind of funny to
Yeah,
hear you talk
when he
about that too.
explains it to you and then you watch him play, you're just like, I don't know how he's doing it. And Chris and I were watching and we're like, we suck. Like,
Yeah,
he's
because
gonna
he's
flip
not
and
just
turn.
playing normally; he's also doing the hacks. That just makes us feel even
Like, he
worse.
did that backwards jump hack that makes you fly up the stairs, and I was like, you're doing it on a drum set.
He's giving himself his own drum solos, his own.
Oh,
So yeah,
man.
what I always do is I make a list of every game I want to see played at AGDQ from the schedule. Then I cross them off as I watch them because I want to see them beaten and such.
Nice.
Because Chris and I also learned that the bad dudes have names. I didn't know that. Blade and Striker.
I
was
thought they
"That's
were
gonna
bad
come
and
up on a
dude.
trivia show one day. You just watch.
The bad dude.
And other than that, I got some reading material that came in. So if I need to read a book this year, I can either read about Road Rash.
Oh Lord.
No,
Desert
that's what's
Strike.
funny. Hold on.
Oh.
I happened to pick these up this week too and forgot to mention
Nice.
this.
Oh.
I have Road Rash
Speaking
1 and 2.
of,
I can read the story about Super Monaco GP,
Oh my god, that has
Oh,
a
or
wow.
the story of Golden Axe.
Please
But
tell me
this
those
is
are
going to
Choose
be
Your
the best
Adventures.
one, the Road Rash one. I watched Digital Foundry's
Yes, the dramatic reading.
their retrospective, and then they showed this for a split second, and I was like, "Excuse me, there's a book." So I was like, "It's fine."
Oh my god. I did finally get in that the guide to all the adventure games that you showed me. I do have that now also, by the way. But
Yeah, it's almost like what games you should be downloading, because then you look through them, you're like, "Oh, that one's a cool premise. I'm gonna look for that." because sometimes it tells you it's on abandonware or it's
Mhm.
That
on
might be the
an
only way to get
archive.
a lot of them. Yeah.
So
All right. So Rachel, what you been up to?
Yes, I have been up to so many things. Feels like it's been ages since we've all talked, These
It's only been a
weeks.
week. And it
I
does feel
know.
like forever.
It does. It always does. I'd also like to point out that the AC just kicked on in my house for literally no reason. And it's cold on the back of my head, and I am filled with hatred right now. Because the cold should not be on; it should be on the heat because it was 47 degrees this morning when I woke up.
yes,
It was terrible. Listen, that's cold for here, okay?
we're negative 25.
I'm a true Florida lizard. I'm about to put my hood on because my head is now cold. Anyway, now my hair's sticking up. This is terrible. Bad idea. Anyway, so I've been watching a lot of television lately because there's so many good things like that have come out for me to watch, and then of course there's tons of things that I need to be catching up on that I have not caught up on. Shame on me. But I am caught up on Percy Jackson now, including the
Nice.
episode that launched on Tuesday. I, of course, the personal opinions that I have on the show are still the same in regards to casting decisions. That has not changed. But I'm ignoring that for now because everything else is great. It's a wonderful, wonderful show. I'm enjoying it a lot. And yeah, so there we are. And I'm not sure how many episodes they have left, but it's getting pretty close to like there's not much left in.
I think there's like 2 or 3 left. I don't know the total.
Yeah, I'm not sure if and I'm gonna call him Uncle Rick because that's what we all call him. I'm not sure if Uncle Rick's gonna pull a fast one and like inject some other stuff into it, but maybe 3 or 4 more episodes left because I think they're on like episode 6 or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I looked it up, and all they have listed is up to 7. So I don't know if that's where it ends. So we should have 2 episodes left.
That seems like a lot. Maybe it'll be a longer episode because in the episode preview, it.
Oh no! Okay, 8 episodes.
8 episodes. Okay,
yes.
that makes more sense. Okay, still not sure if Uncle Rick's gonna pull a fast one on us because that just seems like something he'd do. But it's very, very good. Like it's literally copy paste of the book, which is exactly what I wanted. Casting decisions aside, it's literally what I wanted. So yeah, here we are on that. So I'm caught up on that now. And then of course today, because I didn't get the chance to watch it yesterday when the episodes dropped because I had dinner plans, and by the time I got home I was tired, and I actually fell asleep before 9 p.m. yesterday, which was weird. Out. I was completely out. But I watched all 4 episodes that are out now of Has Been Hotel. So
made for kids, everyone.
It's not. Please do not let your children near this show. It is for adults and adults only. It's got violence, gore, sex, all kinds of things. Is real adult, guys. You name it, is got it.
You got a music video?
Yeah, it's a musical. There's like at least 2 songs per episode, and
wow.
Yeah, they did a really good job, and they're very, and this is on purpose. They're the songs themselves are supposed to be very like Broadway style, dramatic Disney type ballads, like, and this is on purpose. And they're catchy, like 100% catchy. Of course, it's got some very well known people in it. Exceedingly well known. Actually, Alex Brightman, the guy was Beetlejuice on Broadway, he voices 2 completely different people, and I was like, oh, that's him. Then also, oh, that's also him. Okay, but he doesn't sound the same.
Wasn't he in the previous, like the first episode one they did of that?
No. He wasn't in the pilot, but he is in Hell of a Boss. So
I'm getting this mixed up.
I'm very like happy when people of that caliber still do stuff for the little guy, and not because they're making buku money off of it, but just because they want to and it's fun. Like I admire that kind of work when they do that kind of thing, when they do smaller
Nice.
stuff. But it's very good. To no one's surprise, my favorite character is Alistor, the radio demon. No one's surprised.
Yeah.
Second favorite is Husk. And that's who the guy you mentioned earlier. That's who he voices.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Gotcha.
Yes. The character itself is like this winged cat dude. And he's a bartender. And in the last episode I watched, he has a song with the character Angel Dust, also funny, totally inappropriate character, but funny. Where they're calling each other losers, but they're making each other feel better about it because they're kind of in the same boat where they're tied to this. Both of them are tied to this. Each of them tied separately to different beings that are much like more powerful than them,
Right.
and they're kind of lamenting over their situation, which is the same but vastly different. And they kind of become friends out of this bonding experience once they realize, oh, we have this in common. But it's is good.
Is good.
Is very good. The other character, there's this one character whose name is Zestiel, and he's like an overlord in the show, and you've only seen him the one time so far, but how do I describe this? He looks kind of like a spooky Halloween scarecrow, but more pointy. And you know the phrase, it looks like Christmas threw up in here when there's a lot of Christmas decor all around.
Yes.
It looks like Halloween threw up in here when you look at him. It's just the vibe he gives off is spooky Halloween scarecrow vibes, but pointy. I can't listen. If you look up the character, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I see that. But it's good. I can't wait till the next episode. I don't know what the release schedule is because I haven't really looked into that. But if you were an adult and you like animation,
Infamous on an adult.
emphasis on adult in all caps. This is like rated M for mature, maybe even possibly NC-17. But like emphasis on adult. If you are an adult and you like animation and you're into kind of dark stuff, like dark tones, but also kind of like dark humor and musicals, obviously, a 10 out of 10 would recommend 100%. It's a good time.
Nice.
And then of course I also started playing another Code Recollection. I picked it up yesterday from my local Yeastop of game. And I haven't gotten very far in it, but I will tell you, if you start playing it, make sure you adjust the camera settings with camera rotation speed, because the auto is 20% and it is very slow. It needs to be at least 40 to 45, or you will just no. It feels very uncomfortable. It's like this number, like that slow, like very, very slow. Where I'm like, God, why is this like this? And I go into the settings. I'm like, well, geez, it's the auto is 20%. What was the point of that? But it's very good. It's very, very, very pretty. Voice acting is the same. Very obviously a product of its time, but it's very good. So, can't wait to play more. Yes.
Nice. Go ahead,
Even
Steven.
yes.
So I wanted to add something heartwarming that I found out during its launch.
Aw.
So I'll read it here. Taisuke Kanasaki, the original director of Another Code on the DS almost 20 years ago, how old it is,
Mm-hmm.
he thanked Nintendo and all the staff for allowing the remake to happen. But that's not the heartwarming part. The heartwarming part is the game was developed by Arc System Works. He works for Arc System Works. He helped develop Recollection.
Aww.
And I was like, imagine being able to do something you worked on 20 years ago today. You got to come back.
Yeah.
Buddy
that
was
was
probably
awesome.
very emotional, and I don't
Yeah,
blame him
he
for
made his
it.
own post on X all about it. He was gushing the whole time and sharing artwork, and he was just like, "I can't believe you guys gave us the chance to do this. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that a new group of people get to see this game." Like, he
Listen,
was like,
I'm just
over-
excited to be able to play its follow-up, which we never got over here in the States. And I do
Yeah.
love too that you cannot play the second game until you finish the first one. There is no way to
Oh,
load the
really?
second game. You
Ooh, I don't know how I
have
feel
to
about
play the
that.
first one. And I think honestly that's very cool because I know there would be some people out there that would just not even play the first one because they played it years ago or whatever. So I think this is kind of neat that it kind of forces you to play it again and to relive that experience.
that's a good idea. They should have did that with Skywalker Saga.
Oh.
Yeah, starting from A New
Oh,
Hope, the
oh,
first movie
oh,
made.
I'm with Chris on that one.
oh,
If you're gonna lock
wow.
it down to actual time.
hmm
But speaking
Okay,
of
whew,
Chris's
I think
points,
the AC is turned off. Thank
uh,
God.
Chris, what have you been up to?
Lately, aside from watching AGDQ bloopers and all that fun stuff, I've been rewatching the classic Laserdisc Don Bluth video games like Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
Ooh.
Watching from the Laserdisc is an interesting experience because you see the first level and then all the deaths that happen in the first level.
So good.
And then the second level, and then all the deaths that happen in the second level. So you get to see all the animation.
Oh,
That's
neat.
really
Really?
cool. And every time Don Bluth is mentioned, I think about the Dracula Don Bluth movie that we never got. And that is my Roman Empire.
He also almost did Beauty and the Beast.
I
So
know.
there was a lot on
Mm-hmm.
the back burner.
At least we
Mm-hmm.
got Rockadoodle.
Oh, goody. I did find
Okay.
something that I was unaware of, though.
Oh.
In the vein of Space Ace, Dragon's Lair, Brain Dead 13, these animated choose your own direction stuff like Time Gal, that kind of thing. There's one I never heard of called The Act, made by former Disney animators from a Florida studio. I'm going to read
Ooh.
the tweeter's thing from Drawing for Nothing. When Disney's Florida studio closed in 2004, a small company by the name of Sacropia hired a majority of the laid off animators to create an interactive arcade game called The Act. It is the last of its kind, being a 2D animated arcade game similar to Dragon's Lair. It was built on a proprietary engine, and plans were made for there to be more games and being able to choose between them on the same machine. Unfortunately, the act didn't test as well as it hoped, and it turned into an iOS app, which has been unavailable since 2016. I had no idea this existed. It looks kind of fun. It's like about this regular window washer guy who works with his Ophi brother, and you're trying to win the heart of a nurse while stopping some random doctors from brain transplanting your brother because he fell asleep in somebody's hospital bed.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Go
What's
ahead,
up?
Steven.
And if you want to know the caliber of the Disney animators, they came from Lilo and Stitch, Mulan, and Aladdin.
Ooh.
Yeah, even the trailer looks phenomenal, and I regret that we don't have this. Netflix still has choose your own adventure animations. Like, what was that one called with the?
The cat.
Yeah, it was Peanut and something. I don't remember,
It's
but they were
definitely
great.
it definitely warrants a play/watch because there's so many hilarious
Cat
outcomes.
Burglar, that was it. Cat
So
Burglar on Netflix. So yes, these choose your own adventure things still exist, and I want there to be more of them. So yes,
well,
that's what I've been doing.
so um some context stuff for the act that I just looked up. Um there is a full walkthrough video of the Apple like version available on YouTube. So if you wanted to see the full thing, at least you could do it there.
Okay.
And at the Museum of the Game, like a International Arcade Museum, they do have the prototype of the actual arcade cabinet in there.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Um
They did put it on the Internet Archive. There is caveats.
yeah.
The
Uh-huh.
first caveat that used to be there was it would check for a USB device, so it wouldn't work. Somebody patched that recently. However, it must be run. It says it must be run through a QEMU emulator and must use a Intel HD sound card in order to work correctly.
Well, there's at least a way.
I was like, where there's a will, there's a way. I was like, YouTube, thank you.
Yeah, YouTube
Yeah,
might be the
worst
better
comes
answer
to
for
worst,
this.
we can still watch it, but it's a shame that we never got it.
Yeah, it just feels like that would have been that, like for a limited run or some of the stuff, like make a Switch version or something like this would be a nice little bonus thing to re-release. Hell, even there's the company that makes like the miniature arcade cabinets. If they could make a mini one of that, it'd be expensive, be a cool little collector's thing, but you could output it via HDMI and still be able to play it and have that. Like that'd be a fun way. They've done that with rare versions of games before too. So why
Yeah,
not?
I've always been miffed by the fact that the Dragon's Lair trilogy
Mm,
is not the trilogy. It's 1, 2, and Space Ace. And I'm like, no, there was a third one called Time Warp, but you can only play it on old PCs now.
I
really?
thought Time Warp was the second one.
No, there's two. No, not Time Warp. There was a third one though, but it was only for PC.
Grab it. It's right. I've got the my Switch
I was like,
version
wait,
right
not
over
Time
there.
Warp. I was like, yeah, I have those 2 Blu-rays even. It's
Oh,
the third
wow.
one that's locked on PC, so you can't get that one.
Huh. Very weird. Yeah, I only knew of the two of them and then Space Ace. So
Yeah, there's
Huh.
been a bunch. The actual arcade game uses a knob of how hard you turn it to what he's doing in the game, and then there was a
Oh.
Lupin the Third game as well. Because even Galloping Ghost has it.
Uh-huh.
They call it something else to avoid. I guess they didn't have the name at the time, but that one you have to use buttons for hands and buttons for legs, so it's even more complex. Okay. I still have to
Lord.
find the DVD though for Time Traveler because I do need to get that.
All right. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to our news for this week. Yay. Remember which one to hit this time. I got that right at least. So to start us off, GameStop has finally done something right, whether they liked it or not. They're finally bailing on NFTs and closing their crypto business. So they stated, quote, GameStop has decided to wind down out of NFT marketplace due to the continuing regulatory uncertainty of the crypto space. AKA, hey, we can't make any more money off of this. We're losing a bunch. We're in a hole. Holy crap. And finally diving out of it. The market will be closed on February 2nd. No one will lose anything that we ever actually give a damn about. So, sorry. If you lost money on this, we have a bridge to sell you. So this follows on X and Twitter's announcement and removal, funny enough, of the NFT profile pictures from the social media platform. So people that paid to get those now can't even use them to show them off. But those that just copied and pasted it as a way of mocking them will still have them.
Well, why don't they just sell the profile picture?
Yeah. So is this another way of like emulation is the only way something's going to continue? We just copy and paste.
That's an interesting thought.
That is the dad joke version.
Well, I heard somebody right clicked, so all of it's saved.
Is one massive click. Oh man. So yeah, anytime I'm seeing anybody get out of NFTs and some of the crypto stuff outside of actual legitimate uses, which were completely bastardized by this whole market money scheme, is good. And I think even Rachel would agree. Can Square do this next and get out of it? Like, stop doing some of this stuff.
Maybe
do
they
good
have
things,
to just
Square.
get used to the fact that they're not going to be able to keep or own their NFTs. You're going to have to get comfortable.
Let's
Rachel's
listen.
Like, don't drag me into this.
Listen, if you just don't look at them or acknowledge them at all, they'll learn. That's how that's how Square learns. I've known this for years. It's either you shame them relentlessly, or you don't acknowledge it whatsoever and give it zero attention, and then they learn.
Yeah, I remember Jeremy was looking. He wanted to get, I think it was like a cloud action figure, and he wanted to order it, and it's like really expensive. And then turns out it was just an NFT. There was no figure, and he's like, "Oh, hell no," and just decided against it. Thankfully, I raised my kids right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Rachel's like, I don't know. I just don't know.
That's her reaction to NFTs.
I don't.
She's tired of it.
I literally. It's like, it's like purchasing digital real estate. It doesn't make sense.
But I was told that was worth something in Second Life.
I think Second Life is still going in some places.
It is.
That's more worthwhile than freaking NFTs.
Honestly, at this point, yes.
It's got to contend with the metaverse.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Look,
Oh, okay.
NFTs are the PlayStation Home to Second Life, okay?
I like PlayStation Home.
They got really popular. You spent money. You then lost all of it and got nothing to remember it
PlayStation
by.
Home was so much fun.
I had the Batcave, for God's sakes. Because I bought the
Oh my
collector's
God.
edition of Batman Arkham Asylum, and it came with the Batcave, which was like, this is great. And then they took it away.
Sometimes companies just don't want to maintain things anymore. Like
Yeah.
when it took me several hours to download that DLC stuff for Xenoblade.
You're never going to leave that alone. Let it go.
Oh,
Every time she tells the story, like another hour gets added to it. It's like,
yeah,
I'm still downloading it, like years later.
yeah.
Oh,
And stories say she was still downloading till
To
this
this day.
day.
oh, that's great. All right. So, speaking earlier of Prince of Persia and how much we're just absolutely, I'm loving this game and the work that the artists and creators over at Ubisoft have put in. One guy at Ubisoft kind of doesn't get our love for this. So, Ubisoft's director of subscriptions, which that's kind of important note that was left out of a lot of stuff, Philippe Tremblay, said in an interview with GameIndustry.biz, quote, "One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen." So while this is a little bit of a surprise for this guy, the director of subscriptions, to say, it does kind of come off as a bad look for Ubisoft, because a lot of people took this as, well, they need to get used to not owning their games. So the context of it is like Netflix. People got into Netflix for subscriptions and got used to not owning your movies and TV shows, which we've seen how great that's worked out for all these lovely shows I've only got to watch because I had to download them from places that are not official. Thanks, guys, especially HBO Max. What the shit?
You haven't heard? What are you talking about? I'm not.
Steven?
It did come at a bad time too, because they just announced tiers for Ubisoft Plus, where one tier you get their old titles
Mm-hmm.
that have been out a while, but if you get their Ubisoft Plus Premier, then you get the games as they come out first day.
Oh, wow. So I get the purpose behind what he's talking about. I think people did take the quote out of context, because they are talking about, this is the same thing for Game Pass. This is the same thing for, PlayStation Plus, where you're getting to download the games, play them as part of a monthly service you're paying for, and you don't get to own them, which we've actually accepted for a lot of stuff, sadly.
I mean, that's the way it's always been with Game Pass and with PlayStation Plus and all of that. So
Yeah.
But it's not
that's
the
nothing new.
only option.
No,
That's
it's not the only
thing.
option. Yeah.
Ubisoft wants it to be the only option.
Well, see, that's the thing. That then
kinda
how? But then that's kind of a interesting point to make, because, well, hold on. The subscription stuff, right?
Mhm.
With Ubisoft, they earn 100% of the profit out of that.
Right.
If you're buying a disc, a portion of the profit is going to go to whoever manufactured that disc and a couple of other sources and stuff like that. So this would be 100% profit from them if, they're whatever you're paying per month gets you access to these new games day one and their back catalog, whatever tier you do. This is 100% profit for them. So it's more lucrative for them if everybody's doing this instead of buying the games physically.
The thing I don't like about it, though, is like with Game Pass or other stuff, like Grand Theft Auto 5, I think, is going off of there here soon. So if you're playing that on there and they decide, even if you bought DLC and stuff, that's coming off the service, which you have no say in, boom, it's
Mhm.
gone. And you're not going to have it until either they decide to put it back on there again, or you have to go hunt it down and buy it physically, if that's even an option.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I honestly do believe this quote was taken out of context. Like, I think during the interview, this is the guy that's working on and talking with their subscription. So of course he's going to talk about, to get more people into these subscriptions, they're going to have to get over the issue of owning the games. I get that, but
It was just said very poorly.
it was
Yeah.
said poorly. I think it was twisted around a lot, and a lot of people wanted to use it as a headline right before Prince of Persia came out, which had a lot of people going, well, I hope they just like, if I'm not going to buy their game or I'm not going to play it. And I'm like, all right, can we all settle down? Like, none of this is right in any direction right
Mhm.
now. Like,
Well, it's got people worried because
Yeah.
you already had Best Buy pulling all their movies from most stores. My store still has them,
mine's
but pulling
pulling
their
them, yeah.
physical media from most stores. And when you
Agreed.
go to like Targets and Best Buy, the game sections are getting pretty barren.
They're smaller.
And and then there's a rumor that the Walmart is just getting rid of their Xbox section.
Yeah, which
So-
is very
So
weird.
it looks like they might even be getting rid of their Starfield copies, which I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why would you take a first party game? And they did report that last year over 95% of sales were digital. So yeah, physical is pretty small, but that 5% is really strong. People are mostly worried because you're not buying, in a lot of instances, you're not buying the game, you're buying the license to play the game. And the developer, for whatever reason they want, because it's in their terms of service that we accept and skip because we want to play the damn game, they can just pull it. And you just lost the game you paid $60 for because, I don't know, somebody saw a booby in it that wasn't supposed to be in there. So they have to pull the whole game. And they'll be like, oh, when it's fixed, we'll give it back. And it's like, I'm not 4. You can't take away my binky and give it back to me when I behave. I was like, what are you
Mhm.
doing?
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why, like, there's some things that I've bought digitally, like indie games. In some ways, it's the only way to get them,
I
right?
immediately thought of a completely different game we'll talk about later.
Yes.
I'm broken on that term right now.
Yeah. So that's for some that's the only way to get them.
Mhm.
And it is like, and I know some of these devs, like, here's a really good example. Her Interactive, they won't ever take their stuff off this Steam unless they absolutely have to. Like Ransom of the Seven Ships, there were some issues with that.
Mhm.
Most of the smaller developers, unless they are absolutely forced to for some strange reason, their digital games are not going to be pulled. I don't see them pulling that unless they're forced.
Right.
But that is why, like, with larger titles where, corporate greed is a thing, they could just pull it willy-nilly, that's why I try to buy them physical, like, every chance that I get.
Yeah.
Like for example, I bought all the Final Fantasy stuff physically, except for 16. That one I got digitally because it was just, you got more for it. It's not
Right.
like it would be hard to find though. But movies are another thing that you guys brought up with. I'm actually, anytime I go to a thrift store or a yard sale or something like that, or really any store, I go to the DVD, Blu-ray movie section and see if there's anything there that I know that I'm missing from my rather extensive DVD and Blu-ray collection,
Mhm.
and I get it. Like, because who knows when all of these things are going to get pulled off. There's a couple of like series that I absolutely like adore TV wise that I'm hoping they put on DVD Blu-ray at some point in the future, so that way if they inevitably get pulled from streaming, I can watch again. So this is just something that, rule of thumb in this case, if it's a game, if it's a movie, if it's a TV series and you love it, go ahead and try to get it physically. Or do another thing, so that way you can enjoy it when you want to years later when it's inevitably gone. So that's always,
I'm just gonna say it. Pirate that shit if they're gonna do that to us.
yeah.
I can say it. No, she doesn't have to say it.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
me.
good luck
legal
streaming
people.
Dogma.
Listen, I will
No
tell you one.
kidding.
I literally told some of my friends that go to thrift stores frequently and stuff like that, and yard sales, and I even told my
Please look for that.
my parents, I said, if you find a copy of Dogma, just get it for me. And they said, really? I said, I'm not even kidding. Just get it.
good
And I
luck.
explained to them the situation, and they were like, Oh my God. I said, it's available on YouTube right now. And it probably will be until, you know, Kevin Smith is just like, I don't want to upload it anymore. I mean, at this point, he's better off just doing this, you know, under the table sweatshop type print on DVDs and going, give me some food. I'll give you a tape.
Yeah, just I mean, I'm glad I have the DVD of that one, but I just want to ask you guys about this. So, would you be willing to, if they had the games digitally, pay a premium for a physical copy, even if it's a
Yeah.
limited run of it?
100%.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing. Like, people are paying
right.
people have to grin and bear it that if you want a physical copy right now of Baldur's Gate, you have to bow down to Larian Studios $20 shipping of a little game.
I already did.
So $100 you have to pay if you want that game physical. I'm still waiting because my copy wouldn't come till the second quarter anyway. So I'm in no rush now. And they said they'll keep printing them.
Yeah,
But I'm like, why so much shipping? Are you putting it in a treasure chest?
So I think I this is something that, you know, I know you guys have thought about, but I think the like normal public doesn't think too much about. The
that happens a
cost
lot.
the cost of printing a game onto a disc now is
Mhm.
actually more expensive than it was many years ago. Just because of, I guess,
The volume's not there anymore.
the one that's part of it, but
Yeah.
it's actually the like, you remember a couple years ago when we were having trouble getting in when we couldn't get car parts or computer parts or any kind of parts, right? Because
Right.
we couldn't get access to the people who manufacture them could not get access to the materials to make the parts. And I think that's part of it too.
We had a delay on that for a while. Part of my job, I
Yeah.
can't go into details on it, but
Yeah.
we have to order some pretty expensive components. We're talking
Mhm.
like 70,000 to
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
amounts for these.
Yeah.
And there were delays on these things
Yeah.
because of part shortages and so forth. A
Yeah.
lot of that seems to have worked its way out, but disc manufacturing, I guess, is more of a material. I think that's just going to come down to, you're talking about they get 100% if they sell digital. So more
Mhm.
companies are inclined to try and push that because they want to have all the profit for them. They're
Mhm.
not going to bring the price of the games down. They're going to keep them full price, but
Mhm.
not let you have it, which is like just a wet dream for them.
Mhm.
So they're less incentivized to actually make the physical copies, but they
Mhm.
don't realize that's going to come out and bite them in the ass over the long run,
Mhm.
because they will just be forgotten about. But once
Mhm.
again, they don't care because they just want
They've
the
already got their money.
now.
So,
And that's like with
Yeah.
this is one that my kids got me. This is the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection.
I want to get that. I
Yeah,
should.
they had to import it. I think it was Play Asia we had to get it from because this is
Yeah,
not available in the
the
US at all.
ESRB one is insane. So
The what?
Yeah, it's
the ESRB version is like $700 because Square released it at 3 a.m. for like an hour.
Does this look like the face of a surprised individual to you?
And the ESRB one has no inside art, while there's beautiful pixel art inside the import.
Well, as long as it's in English, I don't really care. So
this
But,
is what the import one looks like.
Quick sidebar though, kudos to Another Code Recollection for having inside box art.
it's so pretty. I opened it up and I went, "Aw."
And then Prince of Persia.
It's just a
Oh,
white screen.
You gotta get comfortable with no box art inside.
What a book, man! I miss my guides; those are great.
Oh,
What?
that was always like, when I got the DVDs that I told you about
Mhm.
this today, I opened it up and it had like an insert. Like sometimes the DVDs had like inserts with like movie coupons and stuff like that. One of them had that, and I was like, that's pleasant. That's a memory of a bygone era. Oh,
Yeah. So I just I get that digital is going to be the future for a lot of stuff. That is the case for books, movies, music, games, so forth. But I also still believe there needs to be a physical side of it as well, both for accessibility for people, for longevity, to be able to keep these things, to maintain them, as well as just having a choice. Like I've got a massive music collection that's mostly digital, but I have a bunch of old CDs and stuff that I got. I have a pretty extensive growing record collection even that I've been building up because that's my
Yeah,
choice.
those are great because those. I don't know if they still are, but those in its prime, they said they were outselling MP3s. So I
Hmm.
was like, whoa, vinyls are insane.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that's coming back. I think, and here's the biggest part. I thought about this today. I want to ask the three of you this one and see what your answers are. How many of you, when you got into gaming, got into it because a friend or family member or somebody else let you play their old collection, or maybe you got it handed down by some sibling or cousin or somebody that was like, hey, here's some old games of mine, play these. You can't do that with digital. That
Yeah.
generation will be like, oh, here, I have this old 360. You can play it if it still had a connection and worked. You're not going to be able to experience those classics in that way. And did any of you have that feature or that effect? Go ahead,
I
Steve.
had it with Commodore 64
Mm-hmm.
because like I've told people who you can believe me or not, but I started gaming at 2. I'd sit
Nothing wrong with
and just
that.
watch my brother and his friend play Commodore 64,
Mm-hmm.
and then once I was old enough, they would go do other things because they were teenagers, and I was like, oh, cool. I can play these now. They're one button games on Commodore 64, perfect for a child. One button.
Right.
So I got into a lot of those, and but to give you a quick counterpoint to the general public, nobody needs to worry about that anymore because how many of those systems have you seen now? Especially if you go to like TikTok or any of those quick Instagram reels and stuff, that you can just buy a little portable device that has all the games on it. So you can just give those to your kids and it's be like, here, it's got all the systems I used to play. So it's some of these things are way too accessible that no one's gonna notice that some of these things go away. So they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh, I
I
just
think
handed
you lose
my
the
my
connection to
kids a
that though.
portable with 500 games on
It's
it
a
now.
slippery slope.
Like
Yeah.
if I just gave a Raspberry Pi to my brother if it was around when we were kids, I don't think that would have the same effect of when I gave him my original NES with some games, and that's what he started with.
Well, yeah, but like
It's that connection that's what kind of got you going with it. You can't just give a digital copy to somebody and have that same
You
yeah,
kind
effect.
of can though.
yeah.
There are, like, let's say if you have a 360 or a
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation with a certain amount of games loaded in, that's still a personal collection.
Yeah.
That is your personal collection of the games you like and grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
saved on the hard drive and hopefully still available.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Right.
that's kind of a midpoint
Yeah.
between the box of games you grew up with and handing them a
Yeah.
ROM
And you
card.
you also got to think that some of these, so say for example, this is not going to happen, but say for example, I had a child. And I want them to get that child into gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, about the time when I got into gaming, handheld games. And if I just handed them one of my old game systems, they'd probably look at me and go like, what the heck is this? Like some of them, some of these kids, or even like my friends' kids and stuff like that. I have like, oh, they'd be like, Aunt Rachel, what are you playing? And I'm like, a Game Boy Color, and they're confused. They don't know what to make of it because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
these like retro consoles, or even like older kids, teenagers, stuff like that, they they don't even know what that is. Some of them don't even know what a rotary phone is. Some of them don't know what a house phone is. Like they think it's weird. Like cassette tapes are back in, but they don't know how to pronounce the word cassette. Like you're like, yeah, I guess on some level it's like, okay, yeah, so big brother or big sister or
Mm-hmm.
mom or dad or aunt or whatever is giving me this console to play, but man, this console is kind of lame, like it's really old, like look at these graphics, blah 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 blah. Like that's the kind of thing that they're going to like do. Me myself, I don't have any siblings, and my parents weren't really into gaming either, so I didn't
Right.
have that experience of a family member like giving me their games to play. But I had friends and my cousins that got me into certain games. Like I wouldn't be into Ty the Tasmanian Tiger if my cousin Jesse hadn't like been like, I got this at a game store and I didn't really like it, but I think you will like it, so I'm giving it to you.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have liked Final Fantasy if it weren't for my friend Cassie, who literally asked me to come over almost every weekend to play Final Fantasy VII with her when we were kids. Like,
Right.
it's one of those things. But it's just like, I can see where it's like, you know, you can't really gift a digital game in that way, especially if the game is just gone. But
Right.
Steven is correct. You can get those little handheld things going. Hey, here's all the games that
And
I
you
used to
can't
play as a
compete with
kid.
that.
And it's also more accessible to them because it's on this cool little device
Yeah.
that they can put almost whatever they want on it to an
So,
extent.
like, yeah, how do you compete with that? How do you, when they say, "Oh, I found this device that has 500 games on it," I can't say anything bad about it because
Yeah.
most of those run well enough for the kid to play it. So I
Mhm.
can't say, "Well, why don't you just get the original system that comes with no games and one controller?"
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Wait, I have to buy games. This one has 500 and it's half the price."
Mhm.
Like, well, you're buying for collectability, and then the whole thing goes to kaput.
Yeah.
But like the older set, yes, everything is,
A-
covet what you have and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
A lot of these younger folks, they're not like us. They don't understand the collectability, stuff like that. They're not. There's a lot of like.
I'm
There's
not even
people.
worried about the collector
Yeah.
side of it. It's more
Mm.
of just the linear carrying on of this, being able to pass that to someone. Like, yeah, the 360, if it's maintained, can do that, but a Series X, if those games were on Game Pass, you're not handing that to anybody. It's going to be a brick,
Mm-hmm.
or
Well, it's one of those things that it's like it's kind of like everybody has to evolve sometime in some way, and I guess this
Yeah.
is kind of the next step in that evolution, where instead of bequeathing your little brother your console, you're giving him a little handheld thing with 500 games on it. Like it's just the next step in the process of that kind of thing, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, kind of go either way on that one, but that was at least a fun discussion.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the last story we have for tonight. I don't know why I keep doing that one. It's supposed to be the jump. Whatever.
There we go.
You'll get
Yes.
there eventually. You need to write
There it
down
is.
I
sound.
do too much on Saturdays before I do the show and get my brain just melted.
Just write down some sound cues on like a piece of paper where you can see it when you're recording, and then you go, "Oh, okay, this means this."
I need
That's
to
what
have
I
them
used to
in
do.
order and not just have the file names, like actually name them something.
Yes, I mean that's what I used to
Either
do at the
way,
radio
it's there,
station.
right?
So
So Microsoft Developer Direct was this week, and that ended up showing not 4 but 5 because they had a surprise extra game shown on there. They went across. We had stuff from Obsidian Entertainment, who showed Avowed finally, which I really am happy with. I apparently Steven does not. He seems very bitter about this, but whatever. I'm actually excited for this. I'm gonna at least let
Steven, why are
myself
you
be happy.
bitter? What did they do to you? How did they hurt you? Explain.
Ninja Theory showed Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. We had Square Enix show Visions of Mana. Oxide had Ara History Untold. And then lastly, we had Machine Games show Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So we'll loop back around with Avowed because Steven, I think, has something for that one. Go ahead, Steven.
Much to like probably half the room here. Out of what was announced, I was like 2 out of 5 ain't bad. But I was just like, I watched Avowed, and I also took opinions of other people who gave their impressions on it as well, and kind of put together like, were they right, were they wrong in my eyes. And to me, and Chris was watching it right next to me, I was just like, this is just reskinned Outer Wilds again. I don't like it that every Obsidian game is like every Platinum game, because every Platinum game has been the same thing. Every Obsidian game has been the
I'm
same
gonna have
thing.
to argue
It's
against
just
that.
reskinned.
That's like saying
Well-
Stephen King writing like Stephen King is bad because they shouldn't write like Stephen King.
Well, then yeah, they're copying Stephen King.
I mean,
anyway,
wait.
But hold on. The fact of the matter is, in the beginning of their presentation, they said, we're trying to break barriers and try something unique. No, you're not. You're doing the same game that you already did. But then you say stuff like, there's gray areas and you can make your own choice. But then you don't show us a choice being made. You just show us two
How
people
much could they
talking to
show
you.
that you wouldn't complain and say was a leak
And
or
then-
they're showing too much? Like
And then
that's
afterwards, the lady was like, but you could make this decision and this would happen. I was like, why didn't you show that? Why did you not show us a gray area or a choice being made? I was just like, the whole thing could have just been DLC for any of their games. It just didn't impress me at all.
I have no
I don't
context of this
agree.
because I don't know what game this is, but there is an old adage.
Well, I don't think she watched the whole thing, so
well,
that's
I
not
w-
really a win for you,
yeah.
Steven.
Yeah, there's an old adage where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I was trying to like, you know, I was trying to wrap my head around what platinum games are all the same. So what platinum games are all the same?
Go back and look at their history. Look at everything from what was the one they just shut off? Oh, was it Godfall? No. Let's just say it's Godfall just for the sake of the argument.
I
The
don't
one
know.
that they had to shut off the online and they pulled everything from.
Uh-huh.
That one was a third party. It's a third person hack and slash. Let's go to the Avatar game, the last Airbender game they made. Third party hack and slash. Let's look at Bayonetta. Third party hack and slash. Let's look at
They're a hack and slash developer. That's all I'm hearing.
and
So-
the one time that
I mean, Square made another
the
RPG.
guy who left
Nintendo
the company,
made another platformer. Like,
the guy who left the company made something that was at least somewhat different. Wonderful 101. That one took off, but then they went back to just being like, "Give us money and we'll use our same engine again." And I said, I'm getting to it's getting flooded enough that you can't do this. Like,
Well,
you can't just rehash these type of games and expect it to sell well. This
Well,
is why these things are happening to people.
I really don't think.
it kind of feels
coming-
like we're trying to find an argument just to have an argument. Like
coming from a business standpoint, it's not smart business wise to continue to keep like trying to do something different. Yes, it's good to grow and evolve, but not all of the time. If every game that you make is something vastly different from the one previous, you've got no familiarity with your customer base whatsoever. They're going, oh man, I really like that mechanic and I really like this type of game. People who really like a type of game are going to continue to seek that out. Like, if you keep trying to do new stuff all the time, I mean, to an extent, that's great. But like, it also is like, well, God, what are they going to do next? Well, I don't know if I want to buy this because it's just too different.
I'm just saying, and I hate that this is just going to come out malicious, but at this point, if your company has layoffs, maybe you should look at if all your games are the same and if you're going in a downward trend because people are getting bored with your same games. So if you're getting layoffs, maybe it's because people already played your game 16 other times. That's the only thing the point I was trying to make watching this is I was just like, I feel for Obsidian because they're better than this. And I just said they gotta sometimes just look at the market and what are you doing to stand out?
So I think,
are you just making a game for a certain group or are you making it, to be popular?
well, here's a really good example of let me bring up, I'm going to bring this up because it does have to do with Microsoft, and there was a console exclusive that they did for the Xbox 360. I'm going to bring up Bandai Namco with their Tales of series.
right
all
after
of the
that, Chris had something, but go ahead.
Yeah, all of the Tales of series, for the most part, are done the exact same way. However, almost all of them will throw in a couple of new mechanics or new stuff where they are adding some new stuff to the formula, but overall, the overarching like kind of story they're trying to tell and the type of battles for the most part are the same. So they've got the same core principles and properties, but it has new other things in there. So I'm thinking if most games, like if they follow that kind of thing where yes, it is the same, but it has new stuff in it, would that help, Steven? Like, would that appease you whatsoever?
Bandai Namco is not the best example.
No, but like for me, because that's what I'm familiar, that's what I've played a lot of, and that's what I think of when I go, okay, there's a game that here's a company that has they follow the same formula, but they add new stuff in to kind of break it up a little bit. Like I just think that's a good way to do it because yes, you're playing a Tales game and you kind of, for the most part, know what to expect, but sometimes they throw a curveball where it adds variety. So I think there's a balance that you have to have.
All right, Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so I watched the Avowed trailer as well, and what got me was, how to put this? It felt like Immortals of Avernum to me.
I don't know what
where
that is, but okay.
I don't either.
Yeah,
okay, it
yeah, game.
it was essentially a game that had a lot of spectacle to it, but didn't offer anything interesting beyond that spectacle. Usually, when you show off a game, there's a hook, a story, possibly the gameplay style, maybe it's the graphics. With what Avowed showed me, I could not feel the hook to the game. I did not know what the lore was. I didn't see gameplay that looked particularly different from anything else. It's not a bad game from what I can see. It looks beautiful. The gameplay seems coherent, but I don't see anything. From what I saw, it looked like half Tears of the Kingdom, half Baldur's Gate 3. Not necessarily a bad thing, but we've got those games already. If it shows us something new, maybe it'll be cool. But sadly, that particular trailer didn't hit me. I think that's what
Well,
Steve is trying to say.
yeah, I
Okay.
just
It didn't show anything particularly interesting to keep you wanting more.
I'm just looking at some screenshots right now of it, and it's mainly just a dude with his hand that, is covered with purple flame, I guess. And it, why does it remind me of Dishonored?
Yeah, there you go. It's a little bit of Dishonored too. And
well, that's
that's
like
not
saying every
necessarily
first-person game
bad.
is the
No.
same. I mean, that's so. This is the first time they've shown this game, so everyone's wanting
Right.
everything on it. It doesn't come out till fall of this year.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so yeah, one of the big hooks is their writing, which Obsidian is very well known for. There's so many people that argue that Fallout New Vegas is, the better Fallout game because of the writing and the system that they put in place for that. And for a lot of the Obsidian games, that's their biggest thing. Like you talk about Platinum being for the hack and slash and that mechanic, but they're also very good at it. Like that is their thing. That's like saying Disney shouldn't do animation. They should do, that's their
So,
bread and butter for a lot of stuff. But
I mean, looking at some of the other stuff that Obsidian Entertainment has done, they've done some vastly different stuff. Like Pillars of Eternity is a vastly different game than Outer Worlds.
And
Granted.
that one's really popular.
Yeah, and then Stout Park Stick of Truth is very different.
Very true.
Like,
I think what got me, I don't know about Steve for this one again, what got me was that no story was mentioned for Avowed yet. So I think it was just a tech demo.
I think with especially with this is what I've noticed with like because especially with things where it's developer direct, you're gonna see more of the tech stuff. You're not gonna see more of the story stuff because it's the developer. So they're wanting to show off the tech because that's what they feel, I guess, they're playing to their audience. That is what is going to draw them in more is the
Could
wow
be.
factor of the tech.
They did talk about the world, part of the story, where you were, things that were going on with it.
But it's not the spotlight.
That's like you can't. I don't know how much of that whole story they can go into, especially if it's very much based on what you can do. Like right now, if I asked you, what is the story, like the actual story of Baldur's Gate 3, people could tell me what they experienced, and they may be like the general stuff, which they did cover in part of the trailer, but no one can tell you the actual story because that story is going to be what they played.
I can't even tell you what the story is because one, I haven't played it, but all I know about that game is Starion and Hausen. So
yeah, because once you do the opening, which everybody has that opening, which I'm sure that's gonna be the same for Avowed, you're gonna have your opening, and then from there, based on how you made your character, how you want to do the weapons, they even talk about like you could switch between them. So you could do, they had the wand stuff. It was kind of funny seeing you could actually dual wield wands. That's going to be weird. They were just almost like pistols. They had wands and they're just like firing them off and doing spells, and they could switch between that and a crossbow and the sword. And it was pretty funny.
dual wielding wands.
Yes.
That I'm
You should watch the trailer. I enjoyed it.
okay. I will.
Can we
but
all
I'm
at least agree the key art I thought was really interesting with the skeleton with the stuff growing off it? That was cool.
No, that was pretty. I like
See, we can all agree on something.
and it's not, and I want the listeners and the watchers to know that we're not arguing because we're mad. We have these kind of fun conversations where we don't all agree on everything, and it's not that any of us think we're all wrong. We just all have different opinions. That's all.
To quote Lebowski, it's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Steven, I still love you, man. And like, okay, so like I said, this is the first time we've seen this game unveiled. If their first attempt did not hit right with you, which is perfectly legit, hopefully, I think we're going to see more about this over the year. I think this is just, it caught my attention. I liked what I saw, but I'm not Steven. I'm not Chris. I'm definitely not Rachel. Amanda would be very confused. Uh,
As the listeners will realize, if you keep track of what we're playing, you can tell why we have opinions on some of these games, because we're never playing them. So whether we understand them or get it, sometimes we don't, and we
Yeah.
won't.
and that happens. Like I said, we'll hear more about this later. Obviously, not at E3. That shit's dead. So
E3 season, we'll hear about it.
I hope so. I liked that in the summer. I'm gonna miss that.
It's
Let's
going to
go.
be direct season.
We'll still
from
get
now
it
on.
as soon as Mr. Summer Games Fest says what day it'll be. We know everybody will do their announcements around then.
Right.
Mhm.
All right. So the next one was Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory, as we said. That's going to be May 21st, 2024. And I'm going to get this part that saddened me later out of the way. They have announced it's digital only, which sucks because I found out about the first game because someone loaned me the disc. And that's when I ended up going and buying it, and I have it now. And I was like, oh, I'm going to definitely get Hellblade 2 because even with that news afterwards, looked amazing to me. And I'm okay with it being a shorter game. I don't need every game to be this epic 60, 80, hundreds of hours. You know, if you're going to be a 10 to 15 hour game and you're really good and focused, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But did anybody else have any opinions on this one? Did anyone else see anything on it? Steven, go ahead.
Much like the first one,
Oh.
and that's the
Oh,
fact
here we
that
go.
they showed the tech again. I'm actually excited for this. It was a little disappointing that they showed kind of the high action sequences, which I know action with Psychosis. They showed like the big giant battle starting to happen at their last trailer.
Mm-hmm.
This one took kind of a behind the scenes approach, but it did kind of what do you call it? Give you a sense of relief that some of the things you adored about the first one are returning when they showed the two actresses going around a headset talking because they want to be the voices in your head when you're playing through the game.
Yeah, it was
And
cool
the
seeing how
fact
they
that
recorded
they
that.
hired a specific I'm going to butcher what they are, but like a group of people who chant, and all their chants were very authentic
Mm-hmm.
to the game. So I was just like, it's good that, as Christian put it so eloquently, the hook is still there. So I am disappointed that as well that it's digital only. It makes you wonder if Ninja Theory is going to open up their website and sell it for $100 physical. I don't know.
Let's
I
admit the
wouldn't.
fact I would do it.
I wouldn't mind them just doing a double pack where maybe you get the first one reprinted on disc and you get the code for the second one.
That'd be cool.
I
Go
see
ahead.
digital doing deals where you get both of them probably a lot.
Yeah, give us like a
Because they did
Series
that with
X
Alan
print.
Wake, but just like Alan Wake, I'm like, I'd love to have that. I have like all the other copies of Alan Wake, so I'd love to have one more physical, but some of these things are just a wait and see attitude because they're not going anywhere.
Well, I'm glad we finally have a release date though, because I've been waiting for that for a while. So May 21st, we'll get to play it. And before we move on to the next one, Rachel or Chris, you guys got anything? I saw Chris go, yeah.
Well, it looks fascinating, but I haven't played the first.
Neither have I.
So it would be wrong to just jump into the second. I'm probably going to give it a try eventually.
And I'm just giving kudos to it.
I might just watch somebody play it. I'm a pretty good judge of whether or not I'm going to like a game based on, you know, the style of game it is. It looks cool.
It's
It's
just
not
one
a
of
long
those,
one
like,
either.
I don't think you should even watch somebody play it because of the extra work they put into the audio portion.
Oh, well, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, they've been selling it for like $2 or $3 on PC, and this was an Xbox One PS4 title, so even for that, it should still work really well for you. And Well, I have to see how much that thing is right now. I know
Mhm.
they've been basically giving it away every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, I agree with Steven. If you get a chance to actually play it more than watch it, this is one of those games that the experience in the moment is not something really repeatable by just watching someone do it. Because, and this is one of those you pretty much need to play with headphones. Like this,
It's
it's
like
such a good effect.
it's like playing Manhunt without a headset.
I don't have a context for that. So.
God. You're trying to sneak around, and any noise you made on a microphone, characters in the game could hear it.
Oh, like that
I
one
tried
horror
playing Manhunt
game
with children around, and
like
Yeah,
like
and
the
also
like the horror games from the PS4 where it used the PlayStation Eye microphone or camera microphone.
Alien Isolation did it too, I think.
Oh, I
but
hate
this one
that.
also made it with the original Manhunt, where a guy was basically threatening you, saying horrible things what he's going to do to your family while you're trying to sneak around. So he's trying to mess with you.
I hate that so much. I don't like that at all.
All right, next game here, Visions of Mana from Square Enix. They popped up all of a sudden and showed this off, coming out summer of 2024.
I mean, it's coming out on other consoles, so I guess they were just like, oh, we gotta get part of this. What can we show? Visions of Mana. Let's show that. Yeah,
Not coming out on one console.
Yeah, not announced for Switch so far.
I mean,
maybe Switch 2, who knows? But I liked how it looked. Like, I mean, I
Looks
like
good.
that they brought out the original artist. They were showing his artwork and the animations of the characters. And
I will say I'm very proud of them for being very upfront with saying that it is not a full open world. It's a partial open world. Like it's still pretty. It has some linearity to it, but it's. I like their honesty in this case.
What does that mean? Like you're locked inside your house, but you can't go outside? Like what does partially open world mean?
It just means that it's not like a wide, extensive map a la Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. It's got a large map, but it's
So it's more like Monster Hunter?
segmented. So
Well,
I'm trying to think of a good. So you know how in
Dragon Quest 11 like that?
Because
No.
Monster Hunter's
Yeah.
segmented. You have desert, you have grass,
So well, not segmented necessarily, but it's more like Dragon Quest, like the earlier ones, like 7, where even though it was a pretty large like world, I'm not saying like map, but world, where you went on the pathways were pretty, set, if that makes sense. Like I could tell, like
Open
just
with
from the
some
initial,
linearity.
yeah, like I
Makes
could tell
sense.
just from that first trailer, I was like, oh, it's not completely open world, huge map, crazy bonanza RPG.
Right.
It's an RPG.
Yeah, linear story, but they give you large areas to explore while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I thought it looked great.
Oh, yeah, it looks great.
I love the color palette they use for the Mana games. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, 100%.
As soon as I see those, I'm like, I know what game this is.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
know those
very,
colors.
very, very apparent when it's a Mana game. Like I could tell the second that trailer dropped when we were all watching the Game Awards, we were like, oh, Mana, like at the same time. So very
Oh,
easy.
great. All right. Well, like I said, nice little surprise. It's good seeing that Square's bringing more stuff over to Xbox. Definitely a game that needs to be on more systems. I am still with Steven shocked this is not on Switch in some way, which is kind of weird. But
I'm going to make a quick side note about this, a quick segue. All it does is annoy me to the fact that in the year of our Lord 2024, we still don't have stuff that began on the Nintendo system for Switch. And all this game did was, okay, so we missed out on a bunch of Mana games not being on Nintendo systems, but we still don't have Disney Afternoon Collection on Switch.
That's a crime, I still think.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It's
I want
Nintendo games.
I mean, no, wait, some of them are. Isn't
which one?
the Aladdin
that's a different collection.
Okay, but still the Aladdin and Lion King one.
Capcom collection though.
Okay. I mean, yes, but I'm saying some of those, like, oh god, I'm having flashbacks to the Lion King.
Furthermore, I was like, PlayStation 4 got the Super Star Wars trilogy, not Switch.
Yeah. Literally the Super Nintendo ones. Yeah, that's a weird trend for that. I don't know.
Maybe they're just having some trouble with like some kind of licensing thing.
So the fact that the creator's like 30 years of mana, starting with Secrets of Mana, and I was just like, who can't celebrate 30 years of mana? Switch owners.
Right. All right. So
Wait.
next up,
Oh, that's Classic Games Collection. Never mind. Carry on.
So next up, this was the only one that's PC exclusive, but this is the Ara History Untold from Oxide that's coming out fall 2024, which I kind of go back and forth on real-time strategy games, but this one had a fun twist that I really liked, and it's the fact that you would make all of your moves, and then everyone's moves happen at the same time. So you can't just plan on what they're going to do or make your move to block something. Like they could make a different move to cut you off or to start raiding a different area, and it makes it more real-time without having to be a real-time strategy game, which is kind of cool. So
I can guarantee you that this game is visually unplayable on the Legion Go, on the Steam Deck, on any monitor that's less than probably 50 inches. Because holy cow, the amount of data in that game!
So many little icons everywhere.
I was just like, Steam Deck, you better say this is unplayable.
And it's not going to be on any console because you have to be so precise with that mouse.
Yeah, I mean, to their credit, I have seen them do really well with some RTSs with controllers. It can be done. Not with this one. This needs a keyboard, and I still feel like I don't have enough inputs.
You can click on each individual cow. I need a mouse.
I did like their little story about the cougars, though. That was pretty funny. Like, just keeps killing everybody.
I hope they keep that in as some kind of like cheat.
Oh, that'd be great. I miss good cheats. So, I might give this a shot on PC now that I've got this rig I can actually play it on. But was anybody else interested in this one? Or yeah, it's kind of a niche one, but I'm glad they at least did it. So the last one that they showed off, and this is the one I was excited for the most, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle from Machine Games, coming out in 2024. We don't have an exact date. I'm guessing myself, this is probably going to be the November holiday game. I think they're going to give themselves some time on that one.
I hope they have a collector's edition.
God, so do I. How much would you pay to get a version of this that came with an actual whip, legal aside?
I would rather just have the fedora.
You can. I have one of the official fedoras. I'm pretty.
Well,
sure.
I want mine to say the Great Circle
Rachel,
on the inside.
So I want to get one of those fedoras so bad.
I'll see if I still have it, and I'll just send it to you.
Love you. Thank you. I will wear that while streaming this for you.
Yeah, I'll see if I still have it.
I want to open my game case, and then the disc says this disc belongs in a museum.
I don't even think they sell the real leather one that I bought.
This physical copy belongs in a museum.
The physical copy. This belongs in a museum.
Yeah. I don't even think they still sell the real leather one that I got. Like,
nice.
Yeah. So
I will pay you for that.
I'll check in my my hat box because I have a whole like Rubbermaid huge box of hats.
That will be on the wall right next to my Proton Pack. That's how much that means to me. Because Indiana Jones and Ghostbusters are two of the things
I love Indiana
grew up
Jones
with since I was such a little kid.
I'm just hoping that when it comes out that my PC plays it. So that's my hope.
Maybe we can get you upgraded before then.
Maybe.
So
I'm nervous about swapping out graphics cards. So
do I need to make a trip down to Orlando to help you?
I don't. Maybe we'll see. It depends on whether or not I make like PC gaming friends down here that will help me swap out hardware stuff. Because sometimes I just need an adultier adult to software, no problem. Hardware issue. But this is the only game I'm excited about actually because I love Indiana Jones so much.
We had a discussion beforehand that Rachel was not the happiest about. This is the only one that was outright announced before without any doubt from them that Indiana Jones is exclusive to Xbox and PC.
I'm gonna hold out hope that one day they go, well, you know what? Why not? Let's put it on the PlayStation.
Like this was even in the court case. Like this was brought up as a legal brief.
Like I'm still gonna hold out hope. Listen, this is a hopeless world, and we should have hope about some things. So.
You have the hope for this. I'll have the hope for Spider-Man the Insomniac Spider-Man going to Xbox. We can both hope this impossible dream together. Yeah, they'll both end up on
Darkstalkers 4.
Chris, realistically, come on, man.
Ah!
You're gonna get Darksiders 4 before you get Darkstalkers 4.
I hate all of you.
Not as much as Capcom apparently hates you.
Mm. Yeah.
We love you. But so this one, I think, has also been met with the most back and forth from a lot of people. I will say right now, yes, I am fanboying the hell out of this. I am loving what I've seen of it. I like how the gameplay looks. I love the fact that they did put the money in and get Harrison Ford's likeness. I'm sure that was not cheap.
Now
sure that's
listen,
not cheap.
he not only is he immortalized on film as Indiana Jones, now he is immortalized in video games, video games
properly.
as
properly.
Yeah,
I
properly.
have some of the old ones. It's not.
I
proper.
have the point and click Lucas one.
Those are good though.
Yeah,
the Xbox one's actually really cool.
I wish Fate of Atlantis was the canon.
I do too, because it's got good story, man. But yeah.
So Steven, you noticed who is voicing Indiana Jones, which I will say that he did a good job with it. But who is it?
Yeah, I reached out to him, didn't get an answer, and the Game Awards account apparently let everybody know finally. But yeah, that was Troy Baker doing his best Harrison Ford.
I thought he did really
towards
good.
the end, you
good
could
job,
hear
Troy.
his lower register cadence, and I was like, I know who that is. So I was, and the other villain who was caught stealing from the the artifact. A part of me was like, "Is that Tony Todd?" But the verdict's out in my mind.
Listen,
they did confirm that is Tony Todd.
Okay, because it didn't say it on IMDb, but neither did anything on Troy Baker's side.
I just have
Tony Todd.
I just have one thing to say, like about this game, and it's not about the game itself. That doesn't matter who you are, if you are male, female, or otherwise noted. If you did not have a crush on Indiana Jones specifically, you're a liar.
Steven has something to say about this.
Yeah.
No, not about the crush. Not at all.
No, you must answer about the crush.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I'd rather go by what's his name? The guy in the Fez. I'd more have a crush on him than I would Harrison Ford.
Oh.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just because of his accent, and he's like, "Indy, we're going to adventure again."
That tracks. That tracks. That tracks.
You are named after the dog.
But it was nice that they kind of told us where it takes place, so it's a canon story in between two other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they disregarded, as Chris pointed out, any Crystal Skull mention.
That was the best part. They're like, all the Indiana Jones movies.
I like
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay, I get it for what it was.
Last Crusade. And that's it.
Whatever.
So wait, which two films does it take place between? Have they said?
Temple and Crusade.
Perfect place to put it. Awesome.
Yeah,
perfect time to punch a bunch of Nazis.
Yeah. So again, machine games, Nazis go hand in hand. It's still odd to see people complaining about punching Nazis.
I just want the zoom cam of him.
What? I wanted to see, other than the system it's for, if there was any other unfair criticisms for this game, and I told Chris about it. Once Bethesda themselves posted about the game, I was like, I'm gonna do what you should never do. I'm gonna look at the comments.
Oh God!
You just waited into
for trouble.
I can say that the majority, though, were really mad that it's first person, and they're like, "This is just another Far Cry," and they wish third person was permanent. Like you could pick what you want.
Wait.
Things on that.
Is it first person and third person?
Yeah.
Does it switch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right. So
okay, that makes me feel better.
You play the game in first person. You have control of the whip for both mobility and attacks, which looks stupid fun.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the pistol. You can steal guns from people, which is great. Or in the great Indiana Jones style, which I loved. Oh, chef's kiss that they put it to the music of punching someone in the face. To the beat of the music was great.
Oh, that reminds me of I'll bring it up after the show.
Yeah,
but
So you're playing control like that. Now there's other actions, like if you're climbing stuff or if it's cinematics, they said that will be in third person so they can keep the cinematic style. But I think and tell me if you guys agree. If they had gone third person the entire time, all the conversation would have been, "Oh, this is just a Tomb Raider. This is just an Uncharted." It would have been the same. Steven, go ahead.
So, I don't agree that. Well, I agree that there's gonna be people that might have said that, but I think because they even stated there's gonna be optional puzzles that don't have any bearing on the overall like storyline, but you can do to unlock more of the game.
Yeah,
so to speak.
bonus ones you can find.
And I said a lot of the puzzles they were showing off, I was like, need to be in first person because you have to look at the puzzle as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like your Tomb Raider ones where this switch, this door, run through the door before it closes, or find the 3 tablets to put in the notches.
Listen,
You had to look at like almost like a primitive chessboard of sorts.
well,
So I get the first and third person part because it's third person when you're using the whip, like you said.
Right.
And I like it. They said that there's different ways you could do stuff. You could use the whip to climb the wall, or you could just fight your way through. So I was like, different paths too. I love that. And the fact that your knuckles get bloodier the more people you punch.
also
Mine'll be bleeding.
what kind of when you bring up puzzles, I'm like, yeah, it kind of is almost a reference to the old point and click adventure style games.
It's a reference to Indiana Jones. If you think about how many puzzles does that man have to go through?
Well, I'm just thinking like old style point and click first person
We're
stuff
looking for
too.
an X on the floor, you know?
Yeah.
If I had to cringe at any part of the trailer, it was whenever Todd Howard was talking. Because he was just like, "Oh, I had an idea for an Indiana Jones game. What kind of fantastic game would I make?" I was just like, "It makes itself, you idiot."
I can
I'm
deal
sitting
with
here like,
whatever Todd
Todd.
has. Yeah, I can
Todd,
deal with whatever
hush.
Todd has to say. We're getting Indiana Jones. That's what I'm happy about. And I
Listen,
love
I
the
was like,
fact that they
I was like, "You don't need to touch it, Todd. It
Hey,
writes itself."
and listen, if it does well enough,
Uh-huh.
there could be another one.
The Great Square, the Great Triangle, the Great X, and then it'll be for PlayStation once all 4 of them come out.
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
God.
the square is complete.
Oh.
Indiana Jones and the mediocre hexagon.
It's actually creates a summoning circle.
Oh God.
Oh, Chris will be looking forward to Indiana Jones and the changing of the timeline, I guess.
The eye roll was felt all the way here in Florida.
That was so much of an eye roll, Indy had to run from it.
Yeah.
Har.
You just made Mutt disappear from canon.
He did that himself.
That was still a really sad way of handling
It
that
really
in the last
was.
movie. I was like, damn, that got me in the feels.
I was in the theater watching this, by the way, I think by myself. Yeah, and I literally looked over to the person next to me and they looked at me and we just went, they just killed Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, that was basically the movie equivalent of
it was like taking the script. And then
I did it, boss. Shia LaBeouf and Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I'm excited for it. I love the fact unapologetically within the first few seconds they show Indy buried in the sand with someone, with a Nazi talking in his face, and the first thing he does is just headbutt him, and it looks like he already broke his nose once, so he's just breaking it again, and he has that Harrison Ford smirk of "you dumb son of a bitch."
Yeah,
it's got all the charm of the movies, which is nice. And I kind of chuckled when they're like, "We couldn't get John Williams, but we found this guy."
Well, they're using the John Williams score, but they did find another really good composer that is using the same.
It's just the way they phrased it. They're like, "We couldn't get the composer, but we found this guy."
Well, he was retiring. He's like 90.
No, he's back. He's come out of retirement, actually.
One more, I think. Yeah.
Actually, however many more. I don't think he limited it to just one. He's kind of like Hayao Miyazaki, where he says he retires and then he doesn't.
He's going to compose until he dies, and that will be, my wife will be unconsolable that day. I can tell you that right now, because John Williams is one of her favorite musicians, if not her favorite, period. So, or a composer, it's not really a musician, but yeah,
who's the name of the guy, of the composer that they got?
Oh crap, I needed to find that. Let me see here real quick. If I just look up Indiana Jones composer, it's going to go right to John Williams.
Oh, I know. I'm just curious because one of the shows I just finished watching, Percy Jackson, the composer for that sounds very John Williams, and his name is Bear McCreary. So I wonder if it's the same guy because okay, no,
Not that
all
one.
right.
Gordy Hobb.
Does
Yeah,
he?
I was having a
okay.
hard time finding it,
Gordy Hobb.
surprisingly.
Okay, I wonder. I'll have to look up his work and I can tell you immediately within the first like measure or so whether or not he has enough of a John Williams vibe. So
So you go back on our earlier discussion, Stephen, were you talking about John Rice Davies?
Yes.
I can agree with that.
Indy, you have my axe. Okay.
I also loved him in Sliders. So
There's not many people who remember Sliders.
that was a good show for the first
Me,
season. And
I
a
know
half.
it had the Pirates of Darkwater problem. Like we're
Oh.
eventually gonna get to this. No, we're not.
Yeah. Interesting show, though.
Yeah.
All right. So at least we can all agree Indiana Jones looks hot as
Oh.
hell. So that whole, the game, not maybe Harrison Ford, I don't know, whatever. Some people might find him hot as hell.
well,
Whatever.
guys, Gordy Hobb has done Indiana Jones stuff before. He composed Staff of Kings.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Sweet. So he's experienced. Nice. So I will be getting this one the moment it is available, and I will probably stream it because Rachel
Does
wants me
anybody
to.
own
And if I
Staff
get
of
that
Kings?
hat, I'll be wearing that damn hat while I do it.
I'm gonna look for it as soon as I get off this call
I'm
because
so
now I'm
excited.
I will let you know,
Mhm.
Rachel, that if you do find Staff of Kings on the Wii, it comes with Fate of Atlantis on the disc.
Yes, I have that one. I will try and
Okay.
find you one, Rachel.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I have a question. Do you use the Wii remote
Yes.
to use the Wii? Oh.
Why would they not do that? That would be perfect.
Listen. Stranger Things have been done with games. So I had to ask, okay?
Hey, I think some people use the motion control in the Wii's and really
But that
awesome
like
ways.
that one thing made it outsell the PS2 version.
Gu-
Hands down was, hey, you get the Fate of Atlantis. I'm like,
Guys.
what?
Guys, this Gordy Hobb guy, he's gonna be
Uh-huh.
great because he's also
Okay.
composed for Star Wars games. So he gonna be fine. We're in good hands.
He's John Williams light.
Yeah, he's
He's a genre of John Williams, I
He's
guess.
Diet John Williams.
Oh man.
That's kind of interesting though. This is just for context to just basically just give this guy all of the good press that he can.
Rachel's
because
doing
I
the
like him.
bibliography on this
He's
guy.
the
No,
most cowardly
listen,
dogma.
okay, this is big stuff, okay? Not only did the Los Angeles Times recognize Hobbs' work as the B-side to John Williams' score for like Star Wars Battlefront, Steve Schnur, the president of music for EA, said Gordy is one of the few composers in the world on Lucas's shortlist. So if he can't get John Williams, I guess he goes to Gordy Hobb. So look at that. Isn't that great?
Okay.
I like this man.
That's a good tip of the hat there. All right.
Tip of the fedora.
Honestly.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our big question. So this week I had kind of a shorter one that I thought we could just answer for fun because we had a lot to talk about this week as we're already over an hour and a half into this fun discussion, which has been a fun one. Arguments
Damn
and
it,
all, it's
digital
been
only.
fun. Say what?
I said, damn it, digital only.
So what I wanted to know is, what is a feature or opportunity from a system you feel was missed? And I will start off on this because I was the one that actually thought of this in this time. So for me, it's the lack of controller options for the Nintendo Switch. These could have been introduced for specialty games, but it really felt like something Nintendo or third parties kind of missed out on. Like, yeah, it would have been excessive if done too much, but it could have been cool to get like a one with a rotary dial for like an Arkanoids type game, or, you know, different setups for particular types of titles. That was kind of the promise of the Switch almost. They didn't show it, but like you could swap them out. And we've gotten alternatives from third parties, but they all tend to be just lesser versions of the normal Joy-Cons.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The one things that snatch onto the side that look like GameCube controllers were pretty dang cool.
They are, but it was still kind of a variation on it. Like, it didn't introduce its own special features.
Oh, I know, but
yeah.
still.
Like hell, we could have gotten a mouse pad would have been kind of pointless. But go ahead, Chris.
What gets me about that is I think the Switch came out of the gate the wrong way when it came to controller options because
Okay.
1-2 Switch was not a pack-in, and 1-2 Switch showcased so many things like the wiggling
Marble.
of the cape for the ice cube thing,
Yes, AC
you know,
Rumble. Yeah.
the gyro stuff and everything. One of the reasons the Wii did so well was because Wii Sports was immediately playable and you could do so much with it.
Yeah.
The Joy-Con technology was nowhere near ready and nowhere near as good as the Wii, and I think that was the real problem. So,
Okay. Steven?
I think what shied all the third parties away was House of the Dead remake, because everybody got excited that they could use their Joy Cons, and not only was it not very uh, precise,
Playable.
but the for some reason aiming with this going like this was more precise. So it basically killed the specialty Joy Cons because you used this to aim for House of the Dead remake, and I was like, okay, that's why third parties aren't using the other features. They need to really hit it out of the park if they're going to put it in the next one.
Yeah, House of the Dead remake was such a bad port. It just hurt me. Like I was so disappointed. Like, I was so excited. I was championing that game. I was like, "This is gonna be great. We get a new version of it. I could do."
Yeah,
No,
people were ecstatic when it came out to PC because then they're like, now I can use my light gun.
no kidding. That'd be a better version. I broke out a Dreamcast just to play it correctly.
And I would have loved if I could use the Wiimote because the Wiimote is a different technology than the Joy-Cons, like Chris said. So the Wiimotes are like 1-to-1, while Joy-Cons are like 1-to-100.
Yeah, just there's so many of those things out there. It'd be kind of cool if they had some kind of compatibility. I know it'd be an issue, but whatever. All right, Chris, you next. What feature or opportunity from a system do you feel was missed?
this is going to go a little bit further back, and especially since indie games have actually fixed this problem.
Mm-hmm.
The PlayStation and the Saturn were really pushed into 3D. That was the new thing, thanks to Final Fantasy VII and Battle Arena Toshinden and so many other games like that. If you look at a stall for the Saturn, the Mega Man X4 games,
Mm-hmm.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night, those two systems could have been some of the best 2D sprite art systems we ever had. And so many of those games were either left in Japan or just not available.
Steven?
You got to remember though, Chris, Sony was adamant about 2D not being on their system.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Where they would reject proposals over and over and over and over again saying, no, you want this game to come out. We're not doing anything. We're not allowing it on our system unless you add 3D. And that hurt them in a lot of ways. Yes.
We worked hard to make sure this system could do 3D things, so you're going to do 3 things, god damn it.
But as we're going to see with all the
pretty much how I went.
Well, as we're going to see with everybody's answers from here on out, there's going to be a common thread. So let's see what happens here.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh. All right. Well, Rachel, we'll go with you next. What is your opportunity or feature that a system you feel was missed?
The whole Vita system, for the love of God.
That's 2, Sony. It's 2 against you.
So listen, I love Sony. Sony, precious baby angel, honey child. But what the ass, guys? Like, it. Okay, so here's the thing.
Vita is life.
So here's the thing.
I'm gonna have to clip what's the ass.
like let me lay this out for you. Handheld gaming, really good in Japan because they are on the go all the time. All the time. They use public transportation. They walk to work. They when they take breaks at work, they're either encouraged to nap or to do something fun for de-stress. So handheld game, what's better? That's becoming more prevalent here in the States now, because you know how many people I see on their lunch break playing a DS or a game on their phone or the Switch. So many. Probably about, I'd say 40% of the people in one of our break areas are on playing a game on something. So that kind of thing is becoming more prevalent. But the whole Vita system, here's the thing. The PSP was great. Its UI was great. It was basically like copy paste of the PS3. Well,
I will agree and say the fact the PSP I think is the closest Sony ever got to knocking Nintendo off their platform for
They had a
handheld.
PSP Go.
but yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why fix what wasn't broken? All they had to do was do that same like menu thing there, like same UI nothing, and put it on a more super powered system with a better like cartridge and all that kind of stuff. All they had to do was consider it like an upgraded model instead of whatever the heck was going on with that menu system and requiring the super silly memory card thing that they had going on.
Yes.
Like all they had to do was just do a little bit of an upgrade instead of doing the UMDs. Just go to cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do anything too complicated, and just do that. And just do that. It would have sold so much better. And yeah, being able to use it as a tertiary device for the PS4 was kind of cool. That was it was cool. Like you didn't have to do it, but it was an option that said, hey, you can do this if you want. But like there was just, I think honestly, if they had just done that instead of whatever the heck they did, it would have sold a whole heck of a lot better. Because it's the perfect size. It's not super heavy. It's not super light either. It's got some nice give to it. It's not going to shatter into 1,000 pieces if you drop it. Yes, you don't want to drop it, but like it's just there's so much better things that they could have done with it, and they just really dropped the ball. I don't know if it was that particular them dropping the ball was just a product of whoever was in charge at the time, or if it was just let's try something new. Just because it's new and different doesn't mean it's good. So
the Vita is the most expensive and powerful system that I have never used.
yes, it's wonderful though. I loved mine when I had it, and I regret getting rid of it. But there was just nothing. There was nothing. I got rid of it years ago, years and years and years ago. And it was just one of those things that is like, anyway. What, Steven?
I was going to say, I know what their missed opportunity was. They should have just had 2 squirrels and just be like, Vita, it's like a nut. You can play outside. And they would have sold tons of Vitas.
All right, so there's 2 things with the Vita, I think.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, Rachel, just type in PSP squirrel commercial on YouTube.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
So I still, and I will argue this till the day I die, the Vita failed because of the stupid requirement for that memory card.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Everything else about it was great. Even the weird controls at least worked really well. The other thing I think they could have done, instead of doing the whole stupid Vita TV thing, was if they had just made a model, even if it was a later model, that had a video out. So you could plug it to a TV and actually use those crazy controls. So it'd be 100% playable games.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have beat the living crap out of the 3DS.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
They even beat Switch to the punch where some Vita games required memory to play.
Yeah. And
it's just download.
The like right out the gate, the memory card issue was the biggest one. I think the second one was the weird menu.
The menu could have been updated. Like that was at least fixable.
That was fixable. Yeah, that could have been totally changed around with a huge software update.
Right.
And then there's the lack of games too.
Yeah, and then that was the third problem was almost right out the gate. And then for a while after that, there wasn't a lot of games. Yeah, there was stuff that was ported. There was stuff available digitally, but like actual games, it did not like it was. There was some stagnation there.
Niche,
or they're niche.
It was very similar, like a lot of like very niche RPGs and stuff like that were not popular for people or were very
at the time
anime girl and all this stuff, because I've seen the libraries and I'm like, I think I have all the ones I need from this. I'm good.
Yeah, well, like and I mean to that point,
I buy too many of these and I'm on a list somewhere.
Yeah to that point, that's what was it was. I guess it was easier for them to put those on there because they were already on there and popular in Japan. So but that's a different market, so I don't know, they really dropped the ball. And it's sad, and I really think that the gaming landscape for Sony would be vastly different now if they hadn't dropped the ball in that case, because then they might have had a handheld still going strong now.
I mean, if the Vita had succeeded to that level of what it could have done,
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo would not have been as successful with the 3DS, which is what kept them afloat during
Mhm.
the Wii U times before the Switch came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could have been a massive drop for them. Like, it
Yeah.
could be a completely different market if the Vita had, at least, if nothing else, had a standard memory card.
Yep. Somewhere
So.
in an alternate universe, there is a place where the Vita is successful. But
Yes.
I will say that
It ain't here.
the memory card issue is a little easier to get around now.
Well,
But
yeah, you gotta hack it and stuff, but that's still drastically different.
yeah.
Yeah, because the PSP had their own proprietary memory card, but it was actually used in laptops, cameras,
Mm-hmm.
and other things. So the price came down because more people used it. The
I still have
PSP
my PSP.
Yeah, the PSP Go and the Vita itself all used a proprietary memory card that each one was only ever used on that one device and nothing else. And third parties couldn't make them, so the cost just went up and up and up.
Yeah, but I
So-
love my PSP. I still have it. I'm looking at a whole slew of games right over there, and anytime I go, honestly, into a retro store, I
Mhm.
go right to the PSP games and look, because it still measures up. It's still good.
I mean, hell, even just recently, I just picked up 2 more Star Wars games for PSP.
Nice.
So, all right. And lastly, Steve, what is your big question answer for this week?
Hey Sony, how you doing? You want to go 3 for 3? Let me start with the fact that
3 strikes, you're out. What are we gonna do with him then?
Sony, did you know that children and adults come in different heights, sizes, including their hands? So how about third-party PS5 controllers?
Get that little baby child of Mad Cats for the
What?
PS5.
Why are you gatekeeping that you either get our controllers because they have all these lights, bells, and whistles, but you better have this size hand? We have a friend who has smaller hands, and it physically hurts to play Spider-Man 2 because she's like, why can't they go back to the size of the PS4 or PS3 controller? And I was like,
And
there's no third parties that are allowed to touch it, and if you dare try to use a PS4 controller and play a PS5 game, you're going to hit a myriad of issues or no functionality at all.
And
Yeah.
also, like, the PS5 controller, like, that's a hefty controller. That thing's heavy. I wouldn't trust a child to hold that unless they were on couch and carpet. So
I have 2 nephews who are like 4 and 5, and they're playing with it, and I'm like, okay.
The PS4 controller is probably the best iteration of PlayStation controllers. The
you know,
DualShock, the analog sticks,
Mhm.
everything.
it's
I
very
still
ergonomic.
see.
Yeah,
And they
Well,
could still copy that design with PS5 functionality
but they
and have it
didn't.
as a third party, but they didn't, so we don't get a smaller version. And I'm not asking even for you to open the floodgates, Sony. I'm just saying, how about you just make if you're going to make a PlayStation 5 Slim and take it apart like a futuristic Lego, how about you give us a controller Slim as well for people who choose to go smaller?
Yeah.
Or just make the PS4 controller compatible with everything. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all we need.
That's
Yep.
way too hard, and don't you dare suggest that again.
Yeah.
But
So-
also, like, I think them going to a different, like, size was the almost consistent argument that I heard while I was still working for Ye Stop of Game, and also, like, actively, like, involved there, and, like, all of that. Like, I heard so many, like, so much discourse on the shape of the Xbox controller versus the shape of the PS4 controller. And Jeremy, I'm going to call you out a little bit on this because you were part of this argument quite a bit
I'm
at
going to
one
defend
point.
myself real quick because I will say right now, I never said one had to be the other. It's
No.
a personal preference.
Right, I know. And it is a personal preference, but this was a common argument all the time that I heard while at work for years. And then I guess finally this happened, I guess, so many times somewhere enough that someone on the, I guess, the Sony design team was like, well, why don't we make our next controller to be a little more closely more in line to the Xbox people, so we can maybe either, make it more comfortable for people that prefer that controller to play ours, or to get Xbox people to come over here because our controller is now similar to what they know. And
I wish
I
I
just
had the
think that's a silly idea. But anyway.
I wish I still had the bag right here, but I have a PS5 controller that's taken apart, and the increased size is not so much from the fact, oh, we need to be like an Xbox controller. It's those triggers, they're huge. They
Yeah.
take up so much space in
They're
there.
massive. Yeah.
They would not fit in a PS4 controller. Now, funny enough, the PS5 controller is actually more comfortable to me because, once again, larger hands, larger controller, but I agree there needs to be options. That's part of why I didn't like PS3, PS4, even PS2 controllers as much. But I also have a jacked up right hand, so the sticks being together
Mm-hmm.
hurts after a while
Yeah.
because my
I
right thumb is there. But that's a
I
whole different
will
thing.
yeah. I will say going back to the PS3 and the PS2 controllers feels
Mhm.
weird to me. Not because I have big hands, but I have piano hands. I have very long fingers and average size palms. So like when I go to a smaller controller, my
Your
fingers
hands
don't
hit
have
each
any
other.
my finger where don't they don't have anywhere to go. That's why
Mhm.
playing a Game Boy for a very long time, I had to like adjust the way I hold handhelds because
Right.
that's why the PSP was so great because it was long. But it was just like it's one of those things where your fingies go. But
Yep.
I do agree with you, Steven, on the whole third party controller thing because like I've gotten used to the PS5 controller, but it would have been nice to have some options.
Yeah. Steven, you had something you were going to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out for the 6 other people who exist in the world like me who think this way. Xbox controller with keypad, proper weight, perfectly comfortable. Take off the keypad, horrible weight, hate it, uncomfortable as hell. Okay.
Thank you for coming to Steven's TED Talk.
In conclusion, Sony, sponsor us.
Or,
They won't.
well, no. That
So
would just make it heavier. I was
another
like,
fun
what if you
fact-
put a keyboard on the PS5 controller?
Oh, they
They
have.
run
The
that.
GameCube.
It's terrifying. The GameCube
Those-
was made a
those-
super wide control.
Let me just tell you right now, I have the keyboards for the PS3 and the PS4 that attach to the controller, but they have to charge on their own.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That
At
makes
least
me
the
uncomfortable.
360 and the Xbox ones just plugged in and worked.
This just plugs in and it's a keyboard and it doesn't take any power unless you're, I don't know, playing
Listen,
Mavis Beacon on this thing, but it's like it's not
as-
going to take that much
as
power.
much as I love Sony, and I'm a Sony girl, I will love them until the day I die. I know, as a fan, I've known this for years. They have a tendency to complicate things unnecessarily for no
Very-
apparent reason
Really?
other than profit.
Very
It's just
true.
it's just the way they are.
Yeah. So one last thing I wanted to add in here, because I heard you say this earlier, Chris, talking about the upgrade to the sticks between the PS4 and the PS5. Fun fact, because I have to work on these, they didn't change the sticks. They're exactly the same ones, which is part of why there's still the drift issue.
Yeah, they haven't changed
never
analog sticks
changed
ever.
them. Yeah,
It's just the top part that like the way that the mushroom cap is shaped. That's the only thing that's changed.
The ones that have a specific name that you'll see out there, those are the only new ones. The
Yeah.
rest are all the old ones. That why change it if it ain't
yeah,
fixed? Don't break it.
they have a deal with one manufacturer of thumbsticks, and that's the ones they use. They were all the ones in PS4, and they've so far been all the ones on PS5 also.
And they've been the same ones in Xbox, Nintendo 64, GameCube, all the same thing, all the same technology. Because nobody's.
No, I don't mean just the same technology. I mean literally a PS4 stick and a PS5 stick are the
exact
same.
same.
You could swap them, and it would work
Well,
with no problem.
yeah, and no, I was saying that I
Like the
think it
same
might have
part
been
number to
Digital
order.
Foundry did it,
Yeah.
but one of them did an expose where they went all the way back, and they're like, they've never changed analog stick technology. People, it'll all drift at some point.
Yeah, it's because of the graphite setup is cheaper that they use. The Hall effect ones are like what the Dreamcast used, which is why the Dreamcast controllers, even now, 25 years later, still work. Very few of them actually drift. You'll wear the plastic off before you'll break the stick. It's great. So I would pay extra to get a controller that actually has that, which is what I did to my own Switch. So now that we've had our lovely Sony hate parade, I guess I don't know how it's not quite Sony. It converted over, but whatever. So we'll go ahead and end our lovely show. It's a longer one for this week, but we knew we'd have some good discussions, and I think we've had a lot of fun. And once again, we used to tell you where to find us on the internet, but now if you look below in the notes for the YouTube video or in the notes for the audio file and so forth, you'll find all of our information. But you can also find that over at zenspath.com. All of our general contact stuff is there. If you want to talk to us directly through the podcast, you can find our Twitter account, or X, if Steven likes to call it, over at Zenspath Podcast. And then from there, if you're watching this video and you'd like to listen to the audio version of it on the go, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can find your podcast. Just look for Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast and you'll find us. If you're listening to this and you'd like to actually see us, you can go to youtube.com/ZenspathCom, where you can find all the episodes, watch our shorts that we do separated from that, as well as some of our other media stuff. And keep an eye on the Twitter space because we are starting to do some weekly content that I'm just kind of posting up there along with other stuff. But all right, this has been episode 115 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast, and we're out. Peace.
NFT, more like no fucking thanks.